What on earth have Tottenham Hotspur just signed in Luka Vuskovic? I mean, literally comes on within 10 minutes, goal, assist, goal line clearance. He's a centre back. Goal and assist within his first 2 touches. And what a finish! What a finish! I think that might have even been his weak foot. He is not a centre back. That is not normal for a centre back. And you know what the crazy thing is? Vuskovic, I think, was the top scorer in centre back last season or something like that. I think he got 9 goal contributions last season. But I remember back in January reading his stat, and obviously it didn't finish like that. But back in January, he was the top scoring teenager in Europe's top 10 leagues because he had 6 goals at the time, and Lamine Yamal had 5 goals at the time. Lamine Yamal obviously finished with more. Vuskovic is just not normal. But Cudis, I told you guys, Cudis will be cheat code under Thomas Frank. Cudis, there's inconsistencies there. There is a few areas of concerns because he wasn't great at West Ham last season. But if you watched Cudis in his first season at West Ham, if you watched Cudis at Ajax, and if you understood how good of a dribbler Cudis was, how good of a player Cudis naturally is, and how Thomas Frank would use Cudis, Cudis is meant to shine at Tottenham. I believe he will shine at Tottenham. And that dribble he made on the touchline, and to get past 3 players, and I think he passed it to Donnelly, wasn't it? That was insane. Tottenham had beat Reading 2-0. It was a standard pre-season game. Some players were rusty, some players were bright. It started slow, they grew into the game, there was positive signs. You know, it definitely started slow, but what do you expect? It's pre-season, it's first game back, it's about getting minutes in the legs. It isn't going to be some crazy 8-9-0 win. But Vuskovic and Kudus were insane. Mikey Moore was brilliant. Udogie was fantastic. I thought the fullbacks looked good. And you were seeing signs of what Thomas Frank wants to do. Son was rusty. Brennan Johnson was rusty. I mean, Cudis is the polar opposite of Brennan Johnson. You can see that in their play. Bergvall was rusty, but we know what a good player he is. I think there's definitely going to need to be a striker coming in at Tottenham. I think Solanke can't do it all himself. I think there needs a bit of competition. He lacked service today, and Richarlison wasn't involved. Tottenham, for me, still probably need a number 6. Obviously, Morgan Gibbs-White to come in, but I still think that Tottenham probably need a number 6, someone that can progress the ball, because I think all your progression comes from the centre-backs, and I think Vicario could improve at that aspect as well. But let's talk about Tottenham to Reading 0. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the game and what I saw. I missed like the first 20 minutes, but I sort of caught up on it on 2 times speed. But let's dive into it. So this was the starting 11, and this was obviously the bench here. Kinski looked good. I thought Danzo was good, actually. I thought the centre-backs were good. I thought Tottenham were pretty defensively good today. Yeah, Devine, I think, you know, there's definitely a good talent there, but I think he'll need to go out on loan. Mikey Moore, I think there's definitely a player there. The question is, would Tell and Odebear liking the left? Is Mikey Moore going to go out on loan? Because I do think he could offer something quite good, and he showed encouraging signs. So it's one of those where I don't know if I'd loan him out, but then you've got Tell, who, like, his best position is the left. You've got Odebear. That's the question with Mikey Moore. But yeah, Cudis came on, he was really good. Vuskovic came on, he was really good. Ben Davies was pretty solid, to be fair to him as well. Jamie Donnelly, I think there's a good player there, but again, I think he will need a loan. Just because, again, a lot of competition in his position. But I think this was a promising start to the Thomas Frank era. These are my notes up on the screen. You know, I think, you know, the first half wasn't the most exciting. It wasn't the most, like, wow. But it was like, you know, the second half was probably a lot better. But it was just like, this is pre-season, this is early signs. I just watched Man United 0-0 leads, and you played a lot better than Man United did. I'll tell you that. I think you grew into the game after a quiet start, but there were signs of Thomas Frank, what he was doing tactically. There was a lot of similarities to Brentford and how he set up Brentford. I think you could see the wing dynamics and the pressing working quite well. Obviously, Udogie and Moore have the license to go forward a lot more under Frank, which I think suits them well. And you could see a little bit of Brentford structure. There's a 3-1 or 4-1 build-up and high wing, like almost like wing backs there. So I thought the fullbacks were allowed to go high and wide, which I think suits them well. I thought Udogie and Mikey Moore looked really good on the left-hand side. And while this game wasn't perfect, and while it was slow at times, and while it probably wasn't the most exciting Tottenham game you've ever watched, I thought it was structured fine. I thought it was defensively fine. I think it started and had similarities to Angeball, but Tottenham sort of learned and grew into the game. And there were some rusty players like Johnson, Son, were rusty. I don't know if Solanke was rusty. I think he just lacked service in that sense. And But the fullbacks were good. Danzo was good. Vuskovic was insane. Kudus was insane. Moore looked good. There was good signs. But I want to talk about Vuskovic, Luka Vuskovic, because he came on and he changed the game. I think his first touch was an assist, the header, which he did really well, and his second touch was a goal, which was absolutely insane. Goal, and then he made a goal line clearance, all within 10 minutes of being on the pitch. It was actually pretty insane Vuskovic, but he jumps like an NBA player. He's made like an NBA footballer, rugby player. He's made like an NBA player with the jump, but he's a footballer, and he's so complete as a player. Like, that's not normal for a profile. I think the goals with his weaker foot. He's physically good. He towers in the air. He jumps fast. He runs fast. He's physically good. Like, this guy is a monster. Now, I knew that Vuskovic was a good player. I knew he was highly rated. I looked at his underlying numbers. I'd seen bits of him. I'd done research on him. And I was like, this guy, profile-wise, is a monster. This could be a monster-level centre-back. But I was like, look, I don't think he'll get into Spurs right away, but I think he'll stay there. I don't see him going on loan. But, like, from this one pre-season game, which is a small sample, look like a monster. Like, Tottenham look like they have an absolute monster there. Aerially dominant. He looks like he's saying, yeah, by the way, I'm ready. Don't send me out alone, I'm ready. That's what that game felt like. He felt ready to play senior football. He's obviously got experience playing senior football already, but the Premier League's a different level. But he's 6'4". He's got the athleticism, the confidence, the awareness, the finishing, the threat. Like, Tottenham might have found a generational centre-back. Tottenham may have just found a generational centre-back in Vuskovic. And I always say this with young centre-backs, it's just about the profile. If you find someone with the right physical and technical attributes that's got lots of room for improvement, willing to learn, and a good attitude, and they suit your system, you could create a monster of a player. I just cut out there because of my shocking Wi-Fi, so I don't remember exactly where I was. But Vuskovic looks like he could be an insane player. Like, he's got the physical traits, he's got the athletic traits. It's not normal to do what he done. Like, it's just not normal. Like, he was absolutely insane. Goal, assist, centre-back debut, 18 years of age, and it's normal for him to get goals and assists if you look at his career. Physically dominant, jumps dominant. Like, Tottenham look like they have a player that could be the best set-piece threat in the world, and he's just an 18-year-old guy that's just played, 45 minutes versus Reading, and I'm already seeing, like, this guy could be a unbelievable guy when it comes to, when I say set piece taker, set piece threat, like the way he jumps, the way he's athletically built, the way he was winning the first ball set pieces, setting up the first goal, the way he was impacting the game at such a young age, his physical attributes. Tottenham may just have unlocked a monster. Another player that was phenomenal was Mohamed Kudus. Mohamed Kudus, his dribbling ability was insane. That run he made to bring it into Donnelly, I believe it was, absolutely insane. Cudis is such a different profile to Brennan Johnson, so he's going to bring Spurs something different, but something Spurs need. Someone that's going to take on their players, someone that's going to take risks, someone's going to drive forward, but he's the kind of player that's going to get you off your feet. Now, Brennan Johnson has good output, good movement, but Brennan Johnson can be very safe on the ball. Today, he wasn't great, Brennan Johnson, but he was rusty. It's first game back for pre-season. You can't really judge a player off that. But what I mean with Brennan Johnson is sometimes he'll get the ball when he's a little bit backwards, sideways, and a little bit safe. And I think he does his best work, Brennan Johnson, when he can come centrally and get on the end of things and tap it in. But with Cudis, will get the ball and he'll just twist and turn and he'll get you off your feet. I said this in my reaction when you signed Cudis. I did a video that Cudis would be a cheat code over Thomas Frank. And I said the best way to describe Cudis is he's one of those players, that like a little bit like Eden Hazard. But when you watch him play, he can get you off your feet. Even if he doesn't get a goal or an assist, the way he can impact a game could just get you off your feet clapping. The dribbles he makes, his ability to just run around 3-4 players, he's got that spark. Tottenham have signed a player with that X factor. There could be inconsistencies, there can be issues with decision making and form, but you've signed a player, and I don't think you've had this the last few seasons, of Sonny and obviously Kane, but since Sonny and Kane, you haven't really had this. A player with the X factor that could just make something happen out of nothing, that can just dribble, take people on, has got that X factor, has got that something special about them. That's what you've got in Cudis. His 1v1 ability, his ability in quick turns, his footwork, his unpredictability is fantastic. We know he's got a good cross, we know he's got a good ball striking, but whether it's drifting inside or staying wide, he's going to be perfect for Frank Ball. Even though Frank Ball is high intensity and he's not known for intensity and work rate, how hard was Cudis working today? Tracking back, making things happen. The touchline run where he got around 3 players and crossed it in was insane. He gets you off your feet. The runs he made, the dribbles he made was absolutely insane. He was driving at defenders, creating 3 chances, created the most chances in that game. I think he needed 10 minutes to get into the game. The first 10 minutes we didn't really see him when he came on. but he was everywhere, creating chances, making things happen. And Tottenham need a player that can make something happen out of nothing. I think you need those players to win games. Someone that can come on and just make something out of nothing, can impact a game, can change this, can change that. And that's exactly what you got with Cudis. And I honestly think he fits that role that Thomas Frank put in Boomo in so well. I think if, he wasn't played in his best role at West Ham last season, he didn't have the best year. But if you look at how Thomas Frank will use Cudis and you look at Cudis's traits, I think he suits that role so well. I want to just quickly give a shout out to Udogie. Udogie was unbelievable. For me, Udogie was fantastic. The thing about Udogie is he was really good in Ange's first season. Then I thought he started last season slowly. He'd obviously had that injury. But I actually thought he finished last season quite well, and he looked much better in the physical condition we saw in those last Europa League games, semi-final, all of that. He looked good. And I feel like Udogie, he's in that peak athletic shape again. And Udogie is an athlete. He's fast, he's quick, he's very good 1v1. He's one of the hardest fullbacks to beat. But the way he gets up and down is a pure athlete. And I think Udogie being back in his peak physical shape, you could see him, was really key. But he was so impressive in that first half. I thought Mikey Moore really grew into that first game. I thought the way Mikey Moore ended that first half was really impressive. I wanted to see a bit more of him, to be honest. But I thought Udogie was top. I thought Mikey Moore was top. And I think, Udogie is a top player. He's had some injury issues, but we know he's top. We know he's a top athlete. We know his ball carrying is insane. And I thought the fullbacks were really good. I think Spurs, in terms of tactics, showed similar patterns to Brentford with the fullbacks going high, the wingers coming in. There was good pressing. There was structured pressing. I thought, they did definitely lack a DM in the pivot that can help them build up and break those lines. I think they need a progressive DM. I do think Tottenham need to sign a DM this season. I think if you get Morgan Gibbs-White, I think you need to sign a DM, and I think you need to sign someone to compete with Solanke. I think they're the two most important positions for Tottenham, a progressive ball-playing DM. Adam Morton would be perfect. I don't know if you're going to do that. It could be pricey, but I thought that was an area for improvement. But I thought Mikey Moore playing on the left, it looked good. Udogie overlapping looked good. There was a couple players that were rusty. But for the most part, you look at Spurs, Vuskovic, Bergvall, Mikey Moore, Archie Gray. You've got some unbelievable young talent, not to mention Tell, not to mention Odebear. You've got some unbelievable young talent. So if your experienced players can come in and build a very good core to help these young players thrive, if your experienced players come in and Thomas Frank can get the best and integrate these young players, which I believe he will, you could have a really good team for the future. You've got some very good young talent. I think when it comes to young talent, Tottenham are at the top. And I think one area that Tottenham have done well in recent years is recruitment of these young stars, whether it be Bergvall, whether it be Vuskovic, finding these young players. You look at Udogie and Sarr a couple of years ago. I think Tottenham have done really good recruitment in that area of the game. And I thought Tell and Odebear, they'll be developing. They've got promising signs to come. I think Tell suits how Thomas Frank would use his left sort of winger really well as well. And I'm excited to see what Tell does under Thomas Frank. But into the negatives. Son looked off the pace, but he's only just returned to training. I don't know if he'll be here next season. Just lacked that sharpness. Brennan Johnson struggled, but again, it's early days. I think they were the main negatives. Obviously, question marks over why Richarlison wasn't involved. I think he has been linked to Flamengo, is it? So maybe he's going back there. I think Bergvall was rusty, but I'm not really going to go in on him. He had an injury at the end of the season. That's what I'd say. In terms of Tottenham, I thought the defensive structure was good. I thought you were compact at times. I thought you handled transitions better. I thought Danzo looked pretty good, actually. I thought you're going to look better at set pieces now with Vuskovic, and he did look better at set pieces. I thought Tottenham looked a lot better at set pieces. Even Vicaria, that's quite weak at set pieces, looked better. They were my sort of notes. But I definitely think you need a defensive midfielder. I definitely think you need another striker to compete with Solanke. Maybe Vuskovic can be that Van der Ven backup, but when Van der Ven gets injured, you always drop off. But you are looking at a centre-back, but I don't know if that's because Romero's leaving. But I look at Tottenham, and I think that's the three main areas: that striker, that DM, and that maybe somebody that's going to come in at the back, depending. But then I look at Vuskovic, and I'm like, Tottenham need someone at the back. I look at Danzo, I look at Vuskovic, and I'm like, is that a priority? But then every time Mickey Van der Ven gets injured, you guys really fall off. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.